My daughter is dying and you're worried about a parking violation? That's what I screamed at HOA President Rhonda Blackwood as she blocked my driveway while my 8-year-old was turning blue from an asthma attack. 3:47 p.m. Paramedics are pounding on her Lincoln Navigator, begging her to move. My daughter Skylar is choking on her own breath inside my house. And this maniac gets out, fixes her lipstick in the side mirror, and tells the EMTs they need proper authorization to park in her neighborhood. 9 agonizing minutes dragged on. Then I made one phone call. Rhonda's smug face turned to pure terror as my military backup arrived right in front of news cameras and filming neighbors. She thought rules mattered more than a child's life. She was dead wrong and about to learn why you never corner a desperate father with the right connections. What would you do if an entitled Karen blocked your child's ambulance? Drop your revenge fantasy below and tell me where you're watching from. My name's Dalton Reeves, and 6 months ago, I thought Willowbrook Estates outside Phoenix would be perfect for me and my 8-year-old daughter, Skylar. Fresh divorce, fresh start, corner lot with a workshop where I could run my emergency consulting business. See, I spent 12 years in Army logistics, getting the right gear to the right place when lives hung in the balance. Now I help small towns set up disaster protocols. My workshop smells like diesel fuel and metal polish from grinding aluminum rescue brackets, taste of bitter coffee always on my lips during late equipment checks. Classic rock cranked up, sparks flying. Heaven for a guy who fixes things for a living. Skylar has severe asthma, so when she stays with me every other week, this place becomes Fort Knox of emergency prep. Inhalers in every room, oxygen concentrator humming in the corner, direct line to paramedic dispatch through my ham radio setup. You learn fast when your kid can go from giggling to gasping in minutes. Enter Rhonda Blackwood, HOA president, and professional pain in everyone's ass. Picture this. White Lincoln Navigator with Blessed One vanity plates pulling into my driveway. Out steps a woman whose salon-perfect highlights cost more than my mortgage payment, clutching a leather portfolio like she's serving legal papers. The overwhelming reek of expensive floral perfume hits you from 10 feet away, the kind that makes your eyes water and screams, "I have opinions about your lawn." She's married to the country club president, lives in the McMansion on Prestige Drive, and apparently considers my blue-collar workshop a blight on civilization. "Mr. Reeves," she announces, designer heels crunching on my gravel driveway, "we have a commercial activity violation." Commercial activity? I teach emergency response to volunteer firefighters once a week. My work truck sleeps in my own driveway because emergencies don't keep business hours. But Princess Rhonda informs me that home businesses must be minimally impactful to neighborhood aesthetics. She slaps me with a $150 fine, money I can't afford on single dad income, waves some covenant about commercial vehicles, and suggests I'd be more comfortable in a different type of neighborhood. Translation: poor people belong elsewhere. I paid the fine. Custody battles get ugly when neighbors complain about your parenting environment. Told Skylar my standard bully advice. Some people like rules more than people, kiddo. Worst decision ever. Suddenly Rhonda's conducting daily surveillance at 4 p.m. sharp, right when I pick up Skylar from school. She parks at the corner with actual binoculars, taking notes in that stupid portfolio. Sometimes she'll march my property line with a measuring tape, checking equipment trailer setbacks like she's planning a military invasion. The daily crunch, crunch, crunch of her heels on gravel became our soundtrack of doom. Skylar would peek through kitchen curtains and whisper, "Mean lady's back, Daddy." Here's what Rhonda didn't know. My commercial equipment included military-grade ham radios connected to emergency networks across 3 states. My client list? Half the emergency response coordinators in Arizona, plus helicopter pilots like Jake Martinez from my old unit who ran medical evacuations in Afghanistan. When you've coordinated life-or-death airlifts under enemy fire, civilian disaster prep is basically a weekend hobby. The neighbors, Elena Vasquez, retired teacher with arthritis who walks her ancient chihuahua every morning, Marcus Thompson, electrician who works nights and just wants peace, would offer sympathetic nods when Rhonda wasn't looking, but nobody wanted to poke the bear. Elena had already been fined for her non-conforming mailbox flowers. Marcus got cited for parking his work van overnight. But I stayed quiet and documented everything. Army taught me, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, always have an exit strategy. Never imagined that exit strategy would involve airlifting my kid out of suburbia. What none of us realized was that Rhonda was just getting warmed up. Because when you give a small person a tiny bit of power, they don't stop at petty harassment. They escalate until someone gets hurt. The first real escalation came on a Saturday morning when I was doing routine maintenance on my emergency generator. 9:30 a.m., well, within legal noise hours that start at 8, I'm out there with an angle grinder, cleaning corrosion off backup battery terminals, the kind of unglamorous prep work that keeps equipment running when the power goes out. Skylar's inside making pancakes, humming along to some Disney soundtrack. The smell of batter mixing with the metallic tang of battery acid. Weekend mornings don't get much better when you're a single dad. Then I hear the Lincoln Navigator pulling up like she's arriving at a crime scene. Rhonda storms out wearing a pink velour tracksuit that probably costs more than my monthly utilities, clutching her leather portfolio and a cell phone. She doesn't even wait for me to shut off the grinder. "This is completely unacceptable," she shouts over the noise. "I've received multiple noise complaints about your excessive commercial activity." I kill the grinder and pull off my safety glasses. "It's 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, Rhonda. City ordinance allows—" "I don't care about city ordinance. This is a residential neighborhood, not an industrial zone." She waves a piece of paper in my face. "Signed complaint from Garrett Mills about your disruptive activities." Garrett Mills, my next-door neighbor who's been nothing but friendly since I moved in. The guy who borrowed my jumper cables 2 weeks ago and brought over beer to say thanks. I glance at the signature. Something feels off. Too neat, too careful. Back in Afghanistan, forged supply requisitions could get people killed, so you learn to spot inconsistencies fast. "When did Garrett give you this?" "Yesterday evening. He's tired of the constant noise disrupting his family's peace." Rhonda's wearing that shark smile people get when they think they've cornered you. "I'll pay the fine, but I want to verify this complaint with Garrett directly." "That's not necessary. The matter is settled." She slaps a $300 citation on my workbench, double the first fine, plus administrative fees for repeat violations. After she leaves, trailing that cloying perfume like a toxic cloud, I walk next door. Garrett's washing his car in the driveway, classic rock playing from his garage speakers. "Hey man, thanks for the complaint about my generator work," I say, keeping it light. Garrett stops mid-wipe and stares at me like I just spoke Martian. "What complaint?" "Rhonda said you filed a noise violation yesterday about my workshop activities." "Dude, I was in Vegas yesterday, flew back this morning." He pulls out his phone, shows me boarding pass screenshots. "Besides, your generator stuff doesn't bother anybody. Hell, I wish I knew half what you know about emergency prep." Then Garrett gets this look, part embarrassment, part anger. 2 weeks ago, Rhonda asked me to sign what she called a neighborhood improvement petition. General language about maintaining property standards, nothing specific. I signed it being neighborly. My blood runs cold. She used that signature for something else. That's forgery, man, like felony-level forgery, police. Now we're talking my language. In the Army, documentation errors get people killed. In civilian life, they get people sued. I remember reading about HOA abuse cases during my divorce research. Turns out violation hearings require 48-hour written notice, and homeowners can record proceedings. Most boards count on people not knowing their rights. I spend Sunday night researching Arizona HOA law until my eyes burn from screen glare, fueled by bitter coffee and growing anger. Every legal blog, every homeowner forum tells the same story. Document everything, know your procedures, fight back with facts. Monday morning, I call Garrett as my witness and request a formal hearing to dispute the charges. The law requires HOA boards to provide these hearings, and I want everything on record. Rhonda's response? She schedules the hearing for the same afternoon with only 4 hours' notice, another violation of her own rules. But here's where her arrogance becomes my advantage. She doesn't realize I've been installing security cameras around my workshop since the first citation. "Perimeter security assessment," I told Skylar when she asked about the wiring. "Old military habits of watching your six." The cameras caught everything. Rhonda measuring my property setbacks with a surveyor's tape at midnight. Rhonda photographing my equipment serial numbers through workshop windows. Rhonda testing my gate latch to see if it was locked, then writing notes when she found it secure. That evening, I'm reviewing footage when Skylar brings me a peanut butter sandwich, her cure for everything. "Daddy, why doesn't the mean lady like us?" Some people think following rules is more important than being nice to neighbors, kiddo. But don't worry, mean people usually trip over their own meanness eventually. Through my workshop window, I can see Elena Vasquez walking her ancient chihuahua and Marcus Thompson coming home from his night shift. Both good people keeping their heads down, hoping Rhonda's attention stays laser-focused on me. What they don't know yet is that Princess Rhonda just committed her first prosecutable crime. Forging signatures isn't harassment, it's fraud, and I've got 12 years of military documentation training telling me exactly how to build an airtight case. Game on, Rhonda. Rhonda's next move came Tuesday morning while I was teaching Skylar how to check her rescue inhaler expiration dates, part of our weekly emergency preparedness is fun routine. The doorbell rings at 8 a.m. sharp, and I'm thinking it's the mail carrier with a package. Instead, it's Chad Brennan from City Code Enforcement, clipboard in hand, an apologetic expression on his face. Mr. Reeves, I'm here about a complaint regarding potential zoning violations, industrial equipment in a residential area, possible hazardous materials storage, unlicensed business operations. He glances at his paperwork. Complaint came from your homeowners association on official letterhead. My workshop doors open, revealing my equipment setup. Trauma supplies, communications gear, rescue brackets I've been fabricating for a rural fire department contract. To untrained eyes, it probably looks like Tony Stark's midlife crisis. Mind if I take a look? The complaint mentions safety concerns for neighborhood children. Chad's a decent guy, probably mid-40s, with calloused hands and work boots that have seen actual work. As we walk toward my workshop, I notice the small Army veteran decal on his clipboard, the kind only other veterans spot. Where'd you serve? I ask. 3rd Infantry, Iraq. You? Logistics Coordination, Afghanistan. This is all emergency response consulting gear. Chad's whole demeanor shifts as we enter the workshop. The familiar smell of clean metal and organized tools hits him. Every emergency responder recognizes that scent of preparedness over panic. Instead of seeing random industrial equipment, he's identifying trauma kits, portable oxygen systems, ham radio arrays. Jesus, this is nicer than half the paramedic stations I've inspected, he mutters, running his hand along my equipment rack like he's checking out a classic car. You got all the certifications for this stuff? I pull out my business license folder, insurance certificates, equipment documentation, training credentials. Chad flips through everything with the methodical attention of someone who's actually done real inspections instead of just hunting for violations to justify his paycheck. This complaint is complete bullshit, he says finally. Whoever filed this either doesn't understand emergency equipment or is deliberately trying to cause problems. You're running a legitimate consulting business with proper permits. Hell, most towns would pay you to set up something like this. Then he stops, studying the HOA letterhead more carefully, the way a bomb tech examines suspicious wiring. Wait, this signature block shows 5 board members signed off on this complaint, but there's only one actual signature. Rest are photocopied. He looks up at me with the expression of someone who's caught people lying before. That's not how official complaints work. Did all 5 board members actually agree to file this? I explain Rhonda's one-woman reign of terror, the forged neighbor complaints, her daily surveillance routine, the measuring tape property invasions. Chad's taking notes now, but not the kind that end in violations. I'm documenting this as interference with a city inspection, he says, tapping his pen with irritation. Lady tried to corner me in the driveway before I came to your door. Suggested the city inspection was inadequate and implied I wasn't doing my job properly. Been doing this 15 years, I know harassment when I see it. That's when Elena Vasquez appears at my gate like she's been waiting in the wings, walking her tiny chihuahua and shooting nervous glances toward Rhonda's house. Excuse me, are you the city inspector? Chad nods, and Elena's words tumble out in a rush. That woman has been terrorizing this neighborhood for months. She fined me $200 for planting roses instead of approved shrubs. She's threatened Marcus with liens for parking his work van overnight, and she's been taking pictures of everyone's houses like she's building dossiers on all of us. Marcus Thompson pulls up in his electrician's van right on cue, timing so perfect it's like we planned it. Within minutes, Chad's got a notebook full of complaints about Queen Rhonda's neighborhood police state. Here's what you need to know, Chad explains, closing his notebook with satisfaction. HOA covenants can't override city-approved business licenses, especially for essential services like emergency response. This lady's wasting taxpayer money with frivolous complaints, and I don't appreciate having my time weaponized for personal vendettas. After Chad leaves, with a spotless inspection report and a promise to flag any future bogus complaints from our HOA, I realize Rhonda just handed me a tactical gift. She involved city government in her personal crusade, and now there's an official record of her harassment pattern. But Princess Rhonda's not done escalating. That afternoon, she calls an emergency HOA board meeting to vote on new workshop restrictions. The notice arrives in my mailbox at 3 p.m. for a meeting at 6 p.m., barely 3 hours warning instead of the required 48. She's panicking, making sloppy mistakes, but cornered animals get dangerous. I spend the evening filing a complaint with Arizona's Department of Real Estate while Skylar does homework at my workshop desk, occasionally asking what legal terms mean. She's getting a masterclass in fighting bullies that they don't teach in 3rd grade. "Daddy, are we going to have to move?" "Not a chance, kiddo. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to hit back harder than they hit you. Game on, Rhonda." Wednesday morning, I wake up to Marcus pounding on my door at 6 a.m., still in his work clothes and smelling like electrical wire insulation from the night shift. "Dude, you need to see this," he says, holding up his phone with shaky hands. "Rhonda hired private security to patrol the neighborhood. They've been here since midnight, and they're not just watching, they're interrogating people." The video shows 2 guards in black uniforms with Pinnacle Protection Services patches questioning Elena about her late-night dog walks. Poor woman looks terrified, clutching her ancient chihuahua while explaining through chattering teeth that she has insomnia and walks Peanut when she can't sleep. "They asked for my ID," Marcus continues, voice getting higher with each word. "In my own damn neighborhood, said they were investigating suspicious activities and needed to document everyone entering and leaving the area." I pour coffee while Marcus explains how the guards positioned themselves at both neighborhood entrances like we're living in occupied territory. The bitter taste of overbrewed coffee mixes with the metallic tang of pure rage building in my chest. Did anyone authorize this security company? That's the beautiful part. I called Linda Bellamy, the HOA treasurer, this morning. There was no board vote, no budget approval, nothing. Rhonda just hired them and said she'd present the bill for approval later. Marcus makes air quotes with obvious sarcasm. Because that's totally how legitimate business works. My phone buzzes with a text from Elena. "Security guards want to search your workshop. Told them absolutely not, but they're still watching your house with binoculars." I look out my kitchen window and, sure enough, there's a black SUV parked across the street with 2 guards inside. One's pointing a camera with a telephoto lens directly at my workshop like I'm running a meth lab instead of emergency response equipment. "Marcus, please tell me you looked up who owns Pinnacle Protection Services." He grins like he just won the lottery. "Contractor license database is public record, brother. Company's owned by Richard Blackwood, Rhonda's brother-in-law. She's literally paying family members with our HOA dues to terrorize us." Now we're talking about something way bigger than petty violations. This is embezzlement with a side of nepotism, seasoned with abuse of authority and garnished with a complete lack of shame. I spend the morning researching Arizona HOA fiduciary duty laws while the security guards document my every coffee refill through their telescopic surveillance. Board members have legal obligations not to use community funds for personal benefit, and paying relatives for unauthorized services violates about 6 different laws I can think of off the top of my head. Around noon, Elena appears at my door carrying a manila envelope and looking like she's about to defect to enemy territory. Her usual nervous energy has been replaced by something that looks suspiciously like righteous anger. "I was taking Peanut out for his morning constitutional," she says, "and I saw Rhonda throwing bags into the community dumpster at weird hours, so I may have done some investigating." The envelope contains photocopied HOA financial records, bank statements, and vendor contracts. Elena's hands, usually steady despite her arthritis, shake slightly as she points to highlighted entries. "Look at these payments to Pinnacle Protection. $47,000 over 18 months, but I've never seen a single security guard until this week." I flip through the documents, my logistics training kicking in like muscle memory. Pattern recognition was life or death in Afghanistan, and right now it's screaming fraud alert. Regular monthly payments to Pinnacle Protection, but also to Neighborhood Safety Consulting and Property Management Plus. "Elena, you beautiful criminal mastermind," I say, pulling up the contractor database on my laptop. All 3 companies are owned by Richard Blackwood. She's been triple billing the HOA for the same phantom services. We find forged homeowner signatures on approval documents, including Elena's own name on papers she never saw. Insurance claims for property damage from neighbor disputes that never happened. Invoices for emergency repairs on community areas that look exactly the same as they did 2 years ago. Elena's dumpster diving didn't just find evidence, it uncovered a multi-year embezzlement scheme with enough paperwork to choke a federal prosecutor. That evening, I call Rebecca Santos, my attorney friend who specializes in HOA fraud. The sound of rapid page turning comes through the phone as she reviews the scanned documents. Dalton, this isn't a civil dispute anymore. This is criminal embezzlement. We're talking mandatory state investigation, possible felony charges, automatic freezing of HOA accounts. She pauses. And if there's ongoing witness intimidation with these security guards? I watch through my workshop window as the guards follow Marcus home from his day job, then position themselves outside Elena's house when she takes Peanut for his evening walk. The harassment is systematic, deliberate, and probably illegal. Rebecca, how fast can we move? Criminal complaint goes to the Attorney General tomorrow. But once we pull that trigger, everything changes. Board members lose liability protection, and Rhonda's about to discover that hiring fake security to intimidate witnesses is a felony all by itself. Time to call in some real backup. Thursday morning brings the kind of phone call that changes wars. Dalton, I couldn't sleep. Elena's voice trembles through my phone at 6 a.m. So I did something either very brave or very stupid. 20 minutes later, she's at my workshop door carrying a canvas grocery bag that clinks with the sound of reassembled paper fragments. The musty smell of old documents mixes with her lavender hand lotion as she sets the bag down with shaking hands. After yesterday's discovery, I kept thinking about poor David Kim, the treasurer who resigned so suddenly last year, so I may have borrowed some discarded community property from various disposal locations. Elena's been conducting a one-woman intelligence operation. Unable to sleep after finding the financial documents, she's been systematically collecting Rhonda's shredded papers from multiple dumpsters around the neighborhood, then spending hours taping them back together at her kitchen table like a grandmother working a 10,000-piece puzzle. My late husband was an accountant, she explains, pulling out meticulously reconstructed documents. I know what financial fraud looks like. The first reassembled document hits like a brick through a window. It's a forensic accounting report from 8 months ago, commissioned by David Kim before he mysteriously resigned from the HOA board. The analysis shows systematic embezzlement totaling $127,000 over 3 years, not just security payments, but landscaping kickbacks, phantom maintenance contracts, and insurance fraud. But the real gut punch is David's resignation letter that never made it to the board. In his careful handwriting, he documents death threats against his family, photographs taken of his teenage daughter walking to school, and Rhonda's explicit promise to destroy his life and his credit rating if he didn't keep quiet and move away. David didn't resign, I tell Elena, cold rage building in my chest. He was terrorized into leaving. The insurance documents reveal an even more sophisticated scheme. Rhonda filed claims for vandalism damage that never happened, hired her brother-in-law's companies to perform phantom repairs, and pocketed the insurance payouts. She was stealing from the insurance company, the HOA, and individual homeowners simultaneously. Then Elena produces the document that makes everything crystal clear. This was in 5 separate bags, she says, hands steady now with righteous purpose. Took me 3 hours to piece together. It's correspondence with Meridian Development Corporation about purchasing the entire Willowbrook Estates neighborhood for commercial development. The letters discuss systematically reducing property values and clearing problematic residents to facilitate below-market acquisition. Every violation I received, every fine Elena paid, every harassment Marcus endured, none of it was random HOA power tripping. It was a coordinated real estate fraud designed to force people from their homes. The developer correspondence identifies specific targets. The veteran with the commercial workshop, me, the elderly woman with non-conforming landscaping, Elena, the electrician with unauthorized parking, Marcus. We weren't just annoying neighbors, we were obstacles to a multi-million-dollar land grab. Elena's final reconstructed document is a preliminary purchase agreement promising Rhonda a $75,000 consulting fee if Meridian acquires 80% of neighborhood properties within 18 months. She's not just stealing our HOA dues, Elena says, her voice harder than I've ever heard it. She's stealing our homes to sell to developers. The taste of copper fills my mouth, pure adrenaline mixed with fury. This isn't petty neighborhood harassment anymore. This is organized crime with a homeowners association as the front operation. I call Rebecca Santos while staring at the security SUV still parked outside. Those guards aren't just intimidating witnesses, they're protecting a criminal enterprise. Rebecca, we've got insurance fraud, witness intimidation, and conspiracy to defraud an entire neighborhood. This just became a federal case. Get every document to my office immediately. I'm calling the FBI field office. This requires federal intervention. Rhonda wanted to play games with people's homes and families. Time to show her what happens when you target the wrong neighborhood. By Friday morning, my workshop smells like industrial coffee, determination, and Elena's homemade blueberry muffins, the kind of combination that either starts revolutions or ends them. Elena arrives at dawn carrying her canvas bag of reconstructed evidence and wearing the expression of someone who's discovered her life's true purpose at age 73. Marcus shows up after his night shift with a toolbox and the kind of focused energy that comes from finally having official permission to fight back against authority figures. All right, people, I announce, spreading the taped-together documents across my workbench like we're planning D-Day. Rebecca's filing federal charges Monday morning. We've got 72 hours to document everything and prepare for Rhonda's inevitable meltdown. The irony tastes sweeter than Elena's muffins. Rhonda's crusade to eliminate my dangerous emergency equipment just created the perfect command center for orchestrating her downfall. Elena transforms into our intelligence coordinator, her kitchen table becoming mission control with magnifying glasses, color-coded filing systems, and the kind of organizational precision that made her a legendary third-grade teacher. Marcus handles technical security, installing additional cameras, upgrading our communication networks, and patiently teaching Elena how to use encrypted messaging apps on her ancient flip phone. Ma'am, you just select secure mode before typing, Marcus explains for the 5th time, his electrician's patience evident as Elena squints at the tiny screen. In my day, secure communication meant passing notes under desks, Elena mutters, but she's grinning like she's discovered espionage superpowers. Rebecca Santos arrives Friday afternoon with the kind of news that makes conspiracy theorists vindicated. She's contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, and apparently our little neighborhood drama has triggered federal interest faster than she expected. HOA fraud is epidemic in Arizona, Rebecca explains, reviewing Elena's document reconstruction work with obvious professional admiration. The FBI has a specialized task force, and your evidence package just became their poster child for organized racketeering. She shows us case studies of similar schemes across Phoenix suburbs, developers working with corrupt HOA boards to systematically devalue neighborhoods, then swoop in with below-market offers. It's apparently so common there's a federal playbook for prosecuting it. The beautiful thing about criminals, Rebecca continues, is they always think they're smarter than their victims. Rhonda documented everything because she never imagined you'd fight back collectively. That evening, we establish what Marcus dramatically calls our resistance network. My ham radio setup becomes the communication backbone, encrypted frequencies that Rhonda's amateur hour security guards couldn't monitor if their lives depended on it. Elena's house becomes document processing headquarters. Marcus's garage workshop serves as technical support and surveillance coordination. The sound of radio static mixed with Elena's excited whispers creates an oddly comforting soundtrack as we test communication protocols. My emergency equipment, the same gear Rhonda tried to ban as dangerous, is exactly what we need to coordinate a federal investigation. Here's our tactical situation, I explain while fine-tuning radio frequencies and trying not to laugh at Elena earnestly practicing military-style radio protocols. Rhonda's going to escalate hard when she realizes we're building a case. She's already hired security to intimidate witnesses. When cornered animals get desperate, they do stupid, prosecutable things. Marcus connects backup battery systems with professional efficiency. So what's our defensive strategy, General? I spread a neighborhood map across the workbench, marking sightlines and approach routes like we're planning perimeter defense. Elena monitors from her front window, perfect view of both security checkpoints. Marcus covers rear approaches from his garage. I coordinate from here and maintain contact with federal agents. Elena raises her hand like she's still in classroom mode. What if Princess Rhonda tries something really dangerous, like actual sabotage? I tap my emergency contact list, which includes Jake Martinez's medical helicopter service and about 12 other military veterans who owe me favors from Afghanistan. Military logistics means having backup plans for your backup plans. If ground response isn't fast enough, we go airborne. And the taste of anticipation mixes with strong coffee as Rebecca outlines our legal strategy. Federal criminal charges filed simultaneously with civil class action suits and emergency protective orders. She calls it overwhelming legal force, basically hitting Rhonda with so many charges from so many directions that her expensive lawyers won't know which fire to fight first. The timing has to be perfect, Rebecca emphasizes, her lawyer instincts evident in every calculated word. We file everything Monday morning before she knows what hit her. Once federal charges are filed, everything else becomes automatic. Sunday evening feels like Christmas Eve if Christmas involved federal investigations and potential felony arrests. Elena's cataloged every financial irregularity with schoolteacher precision. Marcus has our technical infrastructure bulletproof. I've established emergency protocols for scenarios ranging from power outages to armed confrontation. The security guards are still parked outside, telephoto lenses pointed at my workshop, completely unaware they're surveilling the coordination center for their employer's federal investigation. Tomorrow morning, I tell Elena and Marcus as we review final preparations, those cameras are going to document federal agents arresting the person who hired them. Elena claps her hands together with pure delight. I haven't been this excited since I caught Tommy Henderson cheating on his spelling test in 1987. Game over, Rhonda. Sunday night, 2:17 a.m. My security cameras catch Rhonda creeping around my electrical meter with wire cutters, wearing all black like she's conducting a special ops mission instead of committing felony vandalism. The infrared footage is crystal clear. Princess HOA trying to cut power to my workshop the night before our federal filing. She's probably thinking that disabling my commercial equipment will somehow derail the investigation she doesn't know is coming. Too bad she never learned about backup generators. The moment my main power cuts, my emergency systems kick in with a satisfying hum. Workshop stays fully operational, cameras keep recording, and my ham radio setup maintains contact with Elena and Marcus. Military-grade redundancy beats suburban sabotage every single time. By 3 a.m., she's realized her plan failed spectacularly. The cameras catch her standing in my driveway, staring at my still-lit workshop windows with the expression of someone who just discovered physics doesn't care about HOA authority. I call the power company's emergency line to report tampering, and they dispatch a technician immediately. Turns out utility meter vandalism triggers automatic criminal reporting. The repair tech, a gruff guy named Bill with 40 years of experience, takes one look at the clean wire cuts and shakes his head. This is textbook sabotage, Bill tells me, documenting everything with his phone camera. Whoever did this knew exactly which wires to cut. We'll have police here within the hour. The beautiful irony tastes better than morning coffee. Rhonda's attempt to eliminate my emergency preparedness just created another felony charge with photographic evidence and utility company documentation. Elena's voice crackles through the radio at dawn. Dalton, you need to see what's happening at the community center. I grab binoculars and check Elena's location. Rhonda's setting up tables and chairs like she's hosting a neighborhood intervention, complete with professional-looking banners reading Community Safety Forum and Protecting Our Neighborhood Values. See, Marcus reports from his garage. She's got the security guards directing traffic, telling people this is a mandatory emergency meeting about dangerous activities threatening community welfare. The smell of desperation hangs in the morning air thicker than Marcus's cigarette smoke. Rhonda's trying to rally neighborhood support before we file federal charges, probably planning to paint us as the real threat to community safety. Around 10 a.m., she makes her final fatal mistake. Elena calls with barely contained excitement. She just offered me money, actual cash money. Rhonda approached Elena during her morning dog walk, pulling out an envelope thick with bills. The conversation, which Elena recorded on her phone with the dedication of someone who's discovered her calling as an amateur spy, is pure criminal stupidity. Mrs. Vasquez, I think we've had some misunderstandings about community policies. Rhonda's voice comes through clearly. Perhaps we could resolve these issues privately. I'm prepared to offer compensation for any inconvenience you've experienced. Elena, channeling her inner drama teacher, plays confused elderly woman perfectly. I'm not sure I understand, dear. $5,000, Rhonda says explicitly. Cash. For your cooperation in helping the community move past recent disruptions. Attempted bribery of a federal witness, recorded on Elena's phone with timestamp and GPS coordinates. Rhonda just gift-wrapped another felony charge. But she's not done escalating. That afternoon, Marcus reports something that makes my blood run cold. Dude, she's got a private investigator taking pictures of Skylar's school. The PI, a sleazy-looking guy with a telephoto lens, has been photographing the pickup area at Skylar's elementary school, documenting which parent picks up which kid. Marcus followed him from the neighborhood and watched him take specific photos when Skylar came outside. Now Rhonda's crossed from financial crime into threatening my daughter. I call Rebecca immediately. She's escalated to child surveillance. We need emergency protective orders now. I'm filing for expedited federal intervention, Rebecca responds. Photographing children as part of witness intimidation triggers mandatory FBI response. That evening, Skylar notices I'm more tense than usual as we go through her bedtime routine, checking her inhalers, reviewing emergency protocols, making sure all communication devices are charged. Daddy, is the mean lady going to hurt us? No, kiddo, but sometimes when people do bad things and get caught, they try to scare the good people who caught them. That's why we have all our emergency plans. I don't tell her that tomorrow morning federal agents will be arresting the woman who's been terrorizing our neighborhood, or that her father's about to demonstrate why you never threaten a veteran's child. Through my workshop window, I can see Rhonda's house blazing with lights, probably planning her Community Safety Forum presentation for tomorrow morning. She has no idea that by tomorrow afternoon she'll be in federal custody. The trap is set. Now we spring it. Monday morning arrives with the kind of crisp desert air that makes everything feel possible, including justice. Elena calls at 6 a.m., voice trembling with barely contained excitement. Dalton, she's lost her mind. Completely, absolutely lost it. Rhonda spent the weekend transforming the community center into campaign headquarters for her war against reality. Professional banners, folding chairs arranged like a town hall meeting, and a PowerPoint presentation titled Protecting Willowbrook Estates from Domestic Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Because apparently maintaining emergency equipment and filing criminal complaints makes me Osama bin Laden with better tools. The smell of fresh printed flyers fills the morning air as Rhonda's security guards distribute evidence packets to every mailbox. Marcus intercepts one and radios the contents. Dude, she's calling you a radicalized veteran with military-grade weapons and claiming your workshop is a terrorist training facility. Elena's outrage crackles through the radio. She's telling people I'm your elderly accomplice helping you coordinate anti-government activities. Apparently my dumpster diving makes me a dangerous subversive. The beautiful thing about paranoid people is they always project their own criminality onto others. Rhonda's evidence of my dangerous activities includes photos of completely legal emergency equipment, documentation of my legitimate business licenses, and recordings of ham radio communications that any Boy Scout could recognize as standard emergency preparedness. At 9 a.m., Rebecca texts the magic words, "Federal charges filed, FBI en route, I." The timing is poetry in motion. Rhonda's scheduled her emergency community meeting for 4 p.m., right when parents pick up kids from school, right when the maximum number of neighbors will witness her final performance. She has no idea that by 4 p.m., she'll be in handcuffs. The morning brings a steady stream of neighbors to my workshop, people who've received Rhonda's propaganda packets and want to hear my side. Elena's positioned herself as informal neighborhood coordinator, fielding questions and documenting everything with the efficiency of someone who's finally found her true calling. "Mrs. Blackwood says you're planning to hurt people," says Janet Morrison, a nervous mother of two. "But your equipment looks like what paramedics use." I walk Janet through my trauma supplies, communications gear, and emergency protocols. By the end of the tour, she's asking for training sessions for her family. Marcus reports similar conversations happening across the neighborhood. People aren't buying her terrorist bullshit. Half the neighborhood wants to learn emergency preparedness now. At noon, Rhonda escalates to pure desperation. She files police reports claiming I've been threatening community members with military weapons and conducting surveillance of neighborhood children. The responding officers, including Detective Ray Santos, who investigated my utility meter vandalism, take one look at my setup and recognize legal emergency equipment. "Ma'am, Mr. Reeves has proper licenses for all this equipment," Detective Santos explains to Rhonda while she gesticulates wildly in my driveway. Filing false police reports is a criminal offense. But Rhonda's beyond caring about consequences. She's operating on pure panic now, throwing accusations like a drowning person throws punches. He's got military communications. He's coordinating with other veterans. This is obviously a militia compound. Detective Santos, himself a Marine veteran, examines my ham radio setup with professional interest. These are standard emergency response communications, ma'am. Half the volunteer fire departments in Arizona use identical equipment. The taste of victory mixes with afternoon coffee as I watch Rhonda's credibility evaporate in real time. Even her security guards look embarrassed by her increasingly unhinged accusations. At 3:30 p.m., black SUVs start arriving. Not Rhonda's amateur security guards, federal agents with serious faces and serious intentions. Agent Walsh steps out of the lead vehicle wearing a bulletproof vest and the expression of someone who's done this many times before. Elena's voice buzzes through my radio with pure delight. Dalton, there are FBI agents walking toward Rhonda's house. The afternoon sun casts long shadows as Agent Walsh approaches Rhonda's front door. Neighbors emerge from houses like they're watching the season finale of their favorite crime drama. Rhonda's community safety meeting is about to become the most educational neighborhood event in Willowbrook Estates history. At 3:47 p.m., exactly the same timestamp as my daughter's medical emergency that started this whole nightmare, Agent Walsh knocks on Rhonda's door with federal authority. Through my workshop window, I can see Rhonda's face go white as fresh printer paper when she realizes those aren't more private security guards. They're federal agents with arrest warrants. Skylar's school bus is due in 13 minutes. Perfect timing for her to see that sometimes the good guys actually win. The trap just snapped shut. 3:47 p.m. The exact timestamp that started this nightmare 6 months ago becomes the moment justice arrives with rotor blades and federal badges. Agent Walsh's knock on Rhonda's door echoes across the neighborhood like a gunshot. I'm watching from my workshop window when Rhonda opens her door wearing a tailored blazer and the confident smile of someone who still thinks she controls the narrative. That smile dies faster than a phone battery when she sees the FBI credentials. Rhonda Blackwood, you're under arrest for federal charges including mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud, and witness intimidation. The sound of handcuffs clicking shut carries across the desert air like music. Neighbors emerge from houses, drawn by the commotion and the sight of federal vehicles lining our usually quiet street. Elena's voice crackles through my radio with pure joy. Dalton, she's arguing with federal agents. She's actually trying to cite HOA authority to FBI agents. Through binoculars, I watch Rhonda gesticulate wildly while Agent Walsh reads her rights. She's shouting something about improper procedures and community protection protocols, apparently believing HOA bylaws supersede federal law. That's when the sound changes everything. The distinctive whop 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 of helicopter rotors cuts through the afternoon air. Not just any helicopter, Jake Martinez's medical transport chopper making a dramatic entrance that sends every head in the neighborhood skyward. The timing is absolutely perfect. Skylar's school bus rounds the corner just as the helicopter circles our community center, rotors stirring up dust clouds and scattering Rhonda's carefully arranged propaganda materials like confetti. Kids press their faces against bus windows, pointing and shouting with excitement. Parents gathering for car pickup lines stop dead in their tracks. Even Rhonda's security guards abandon their posts to gawk at the aerial show. Jake sets down in the community center parking lot with the precision of someone who's done emergency landings under enemy fire. The rotor wash scatters Rhonda's domestic terrorism banners across 3 zip codes while federal agents escort their handcuffed suspect toward waiting vehicles. Skylar jumps off the bus and runs toward me, eyes wide with amazement. "Daddy, there's a helicopter and police cars. What's happening?" Remember how I told you that mean people usually get caught when they do bad things? Well, the mean lady just got caught. News vans arrive as federal agents load Rhonda into an unmarked SUV. Channel 12's investigative team sets up cameras just in time to catch her perp walk, complete with her shouting about conspiracy and illegal federal overreach while neighbors watch from their driveways. Elena appears at my elbow, practically vibrating with excitement. "Dalton, look at her face. She finally realized she's not in charge anymore." The community center has become an impromptu celebration. Parents who received Rhonda's terrorist propaganda this morning are now asking me about emergency preparedness training for their families. Kids are taking selfies with Jake's helicopter. Marcus is explaining backup generator principles to anyone who'll listen. Reporter Jessica Bellamy from Channel 12 approaches with a cameraman in tow. Mr. Reeves, can you comment on today's arrests? This is my moment. 6 months of harassment, threats against my daughter, systematic fraud, and witness intimidation, all leading to this microphone and these cameras. Sometimes when you try to bully people into giving up their homes and their rights, you discover those people have friends in high places, I say, gesturing toward Jake's helicopter. Rhonda Blackwood spent months calling my emergency preparedness dangerous and threatening to community safety. Today, that same equipment helped coordinate a federal investigation that protected our entire neighborhood from organized crime. The reporter follows up. What would you say to other HOA boards considering similar tactics? Simple. Don't mess with people who know how to document everything, coordinate with federal authorities, and call in air support when necessary. Mic drop moment delivered. Agent Walsh approaches as news crews pack up. Mr. Reeves, we'll need your cooperation for the ongoing investigation, but I wanted you to know this case is going to be a textbook example for training new agents. Your evidence documentation was federal prosecution quality. Elena beams like a grandmother whose grandchild just graduated valedictorian. I told you my late husband taught me about financial records. As evening settles over Willowbrook Estates, Jake's helicopter lifts off with the setting sun behind it, carrying news footage that will make tonight's broadcasts. Neighbors gather in small groups, sharing stories of Rhonda's harassment and planning actual community improvements now that the neighborhood terrorist has been neutralized. Skylar tugs my sleeve. Daddy, does this mean the mean lady won't bother us anymore? That's exactly what it means, kiddo. The good guys won. For the first time in 6 months, our neighborhood feels like home. 3 months later, Skylar's breathing has never been better. Turns out chronic stress was triggering half her asthma episodes, and removing a psychotic HOA president from our lives worked better than any inhaler. Rhonda pled guilty to 14 federal charges including embezzlement, insurance fraud, witness intimidation, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. 18 months in federal prison, plus restitution of $127,000 to the HOA and $43,000 to individual homeowners she targeted. The judge called it one of the most systematic abuse cases he'd seen in 20 years of HOA prosecutions. The insurance company paid out an additional $89,000 in damages for fraudulent claims, and Meridian Development Corporation is facing their own federal investigation for conspiring with corrupt HOA boards across Phoenix. Turns out our little neighborhood drama was part of a multi-million-dollar scheme targeting dozens of communities. Elena Vasquez is our new HOA president, elected unanimously after her FBI evidence-gathering heroics made her a neighborhood legend. Her first official act was eliminating all of Rhonda's harassment policies and formally designating my workshop as a community emergency resource center. I've decided that documenting crime is my retirement hobby, Elena announces during our first legitimate HOA meeting. Anyone tries to pull Rhonda's garbage again, I'm ready. Marcus Thompson is our new treasurer, and his electrician's precision has our HOA finances more organized than most corporations. The recovered embezzlement funds are paying for actual community improvements, new playground equipment, upgraded street lighting, and an emergency preparedness program that other neighborhoods are copying. My consulting business has tripled. Between media coverage of the helicopter HOA takedown and referrals from federal investigators, I'm booked solid helping other communities fight corruption. Rebecca Santos and I are developing a legal template for homeowners facing similar fraud schemes. The emergency preparedness festivals we host quarterly have become legendary in Phoenix suburbs. Jake Martinez flies in for every event, teaching kids about helicopter safety while parents learn trauma response and emergency communications. What started as Rhonda's nightmare about dangerous equipment became the foundation for actual community safety. Last month, the Arizona legislature passed the Willowbrook Anti-Corruption Act, requiring enhanced oversight of HOA finances and criminal background checks for board members. Elena testified at the state capitol, wearing her best dress and carrying the same canvas bag she used to collect Rhonda's shredded evidence. Neighborhood bullies count on people staying isolated and afraid, she told the packed hearing room. But when communities coordinate and fight back with documentation, federal authorities can stop organized crime at the subdivision level. The scholarship fund established with Rhonda's restitution payments has already sent 3 local kids to college for emergency services degrees. Marcus's daughter received the first award for studying electrical engineering with plans to specialize in emergency power systems. Property values in Willowbrook Estates have increased 23% since Rhonda's arrest, Turns out removing organized crime from neighborhood leadership is excellent for real estate markets. The houses she was trying to devalue for developer acquisition are now the most sought-after properties in the area. Jake Martinez established formal medical helicopter protocols with 3 rural Arizona counties, using our coordination model for emergency response. What started as a favor to an old Army buddy became a template for civilian-military emergency cooperation that's saving lives across the state. But the best outcome is simpler. Skylar walks to the school bus every morning without looking over her shoulder for black security SUVs. She invites friends over without worrying about mean lady harassment. And when neighborhood kids ask about the helicopter that landed during the arrest day, she tells them proudly that her daddy is the guy who protects people. Our workshop has become the neighborhood hangout where kids learn emergency preparedness and adults share coffee while Elena regales them with stories of her federal investigation glory days. The smell of metal polish mixes with homemade cookies, and the sound of children's laughter fills the space that used to echo with grinding tools and frustrated phone calls to attorneys. Sometimes justice tastes like Elena's blueberry muffins and sounds like helicopter rotors.